Alright, hello everyone. My name is Graslin, and today we are going to be discussing the Leo Aquarius opposition video. And I'm really excited to do this one because Leo is my sun sign and I love Aquarians. You know, I love the Aquarius sun sign. I don't know why, I just think Aquarius is it's such a cool sign, and so, you know, I'm excited to talk about this opposition. So, okay, so basically, the big kind of issue, or like the most important thing to understand with the Leo Aquarius opposition, is basically this idea of self-esteem, equality, and love, at least in my opinion. So obviously, Leo is the self-esteem. It's kind of like this, you know, I've always seen Leo as the sign that is responsible for regulating your sense of self, you know, making sure that you're in the spotlight and that people pay attention to you because, you know, you're important, and, you know, people, you know, you have to have a mark on the world. You know, and then Aquarius is all about kind of equality. It's like, okay, well, everyone needs to make sure they have their Leo-ness expressed. You know, everybody needs to make sure that they're happy and everyone can be together. You know, which is very similar to Aries and Libra, you know. But Aries and Libra are more kind of like between two people, right? Like how two people work with one another. While Leo and Aquarius are on a grand scale. You know, it's kind of like the individual versus the collective. That's how I've always seen Leo and Aquarius. And then, of course, the love, you know, Leo is a very loving sign. It's all about love. You know, it's the most powerful thing in the world, you know, and it's the most, and love is actually the most selfish. You know, it's the highest expression of someone's sense of self, you know, because the things you love are a big, they have a lot to do with you. And then Aquarius is kind of like that universal love, you know, kind of like that, you know, selfless love where I love you just because you're human, just because, you know, and they're very logical about it. You know, they're very much about like, you know, why should my family be loved more than someone in Africa? You know, someone in Africa deserves love too. And that's kind of like the big opposition here. Basically, which comes to the next part, which is Leo is very much about the heart. And then, you know, Aquarius is very much about the mind. You know, so, you know, Leo is very animated and it's very expressive. And then Aquarius is very logical and detached. You know, that is one of the big differences between these signs. Because, you know, Leo just has kind of like this need to really dramatize everything, and everything is a scene with Leo. Everything is, you know, everything matters. Everything is amazing. And then Aquarius kind of has this very detached and logical view of the world where everything kind of just very logical. Much about the heart, then it's very difficult for you to make calculated and intelligent decisions. You know, it's very hard to just be intelligent, but if you're too much about the mind, you're stuck in your head and you don't really feel anything. So you obviously need both. And people who can combine the heart and the mind are like the most amazing people because they know how to really feel it, but they also understand everything that they're feeling, and they know how to they just know how to do it right, you know? And so, which brings me to my next point, is that Leo is the performer and then Aquarius is the observer. So, you know, Leo always has the spotlight. You know, Leo is always drawing attention to himself. Leo is living in kind of like the scene. You know, Leo is the person at the center. And then Aquarius is that person who kind of is standing out and looking within, you know, so you can kind of see this as like Leo is the performer on stage, and then Aquarius represents the audience, and they're looking very, you know, because you need both. Like I said, you need, with all oppositions, you need both, right? A performer needs to perform for an audience. If you're kind of just performing and nobody's watching you, then what's the point? You know, if no one is observing you, and this is why Aquarius, I mean, this is why Leo is kind of very self-conscious and very almost kind of like they have the spotlight effect. I think that's like a psychological term, the spotlight effect, because they think every single move they're doing is being watched, So Leo has this kind of performance kind of thing. And then of course, on the flip side, if you are an observer, if you are a thinker and you're kind of standing out and looking in, or if you are the audience, what's the point in being an audience? What's the point on observing anything if there's nothing interesting to look at? If there's no over-the-top personalities, if there's no drama, if there's nothing interesting, so you need both, of course. And then if you look at day-to-day life, there's this constant Leo Aquarius kind of thing where, even in like a group discussion or like when you talk to people, someone takes the spotlight and they talk about themselves or and then someone else does, and then everyone observes as this person talks, and then another person talks, and then everybody observes them. So there's this constant back and forth of being in the spotlight and then observing other people, this kind of give and take. Everybody is being validated. And then of course, Leo is very similar to the artist. Leo is like I said, the performer. Leo likes to create things. Leo likes to create bodies of work. Leo likes to kind of leave a legacy, bigger than life, kind of really make the most of life, and then Aquarius likes to observe that. Aquarius is the scientist. Aquarius is kind of like, it's paradoxical in the sense it's all about the community and it's all about helping everybody, but they're not very connected to the community because they're always standing out. They're kind of, like I said, they're like the scientist. Leo is kind of like the specimen, and then Aquarius is the scientist who's observing it, So Aquarius can feel very quirky and very weird because they have this very intelligent and very interesting viewpoint on the world because Leo is getting attention and Aquarius is giving the attention, to kind of boil it down. Which brings me to the next point, which is uniqueness and homogeny. So in kind of this weird way, Leo are both very similar in the sense that they stand out. There's something different about them. There's something unique about them. And it's interesting because everyone is unique all in the same way. So you have a bunch of Leos who are all unique, but they're kind of all the same because they're all unique. Like they're all different kind of in the same way, in the sense that they're all different, so they kind of all belong to a group. But like, it's interesting because if you have a bunch of different groups and then you divide those groups even more, and then you divide those groups even more, you're left into an individual person, right? So you can take like a group of people who have something in common, and then you can take that group and break it apart. And then you can take that group and break it apart, and take that group and break it apart until you're just left with individuals. So essentially, Aquarius and Leo are kind of the same thing in the sense that, Aquarius is all about the community, right? And Leo is all about the individual. But it's interesting because in order to be for the community, you have to be for the individual, because the individual is the smallest group when you think about it, right? And so so Aquarius is all about the group, which means Aquarius is all about supporting the Leo, right? And so if Leo wants to be a part of the group, the best way to be Aquarian, in the sense, the best way to be for the group and for the community, is to be for yourself. And I know that sounds really weird, but like, the individual is the most important thing in every group, right? We all stand for the individuals as a collective, if that makes any sense, right? And this is very similar to the kind of the Aries Libra idea where, everyone has individual rights as a collective, right? So everyone stands for everyone's individuality. So we're all different, but we all unite under the fact that we are all individuals, so that's kind of, I hope that made sense. So this kind of brings me to my next point, which is, for some weird reason, I think about everything in terms of politics for some reason. And I've been thinking a lot about politics lately. And so when I thought about these signs, the political perspective really kind of merged well with this. And I actually uploaded a video on it, which was about feudalism. And so these two signs really apply to that video that I made. So if you want like a political perspective, then go watch that video. If not, that whatever. But basically, it's feudalism versus capitalism and communism, where basically Leo represents feudalism and then Aquarius represents capitalism and communism. And so it's kind of like the king versus the commoners, or the leaders versus the followers, right? So here's like the thing. The reason why Leo is kind of like feudalism is because, and like I said, you kind of have to watch my video, but basically in feudalism, there's the elite. There's the king, and then there's everybody down below. So Leo kind of is in control. You know, Leo is the king, Leo is the ruler. And then everyone kind of just falls behind. You know, everyone is below the Leo. And then in capitalism and communism, the people are put first. You know, the people are in charge. Like, the thing is, though, is that, like, people like feudalism because there's a ruler. You know, because Leo is in control. You know, Leo is kind of like, he's the king. You know, he brings comfort, right? He's the sun. He's the center. So there's this sense of warmth with feudalism. Even though feudalism is a destructive system, it's a reliable system, and it's a system that humans have depended on for thousands of years because it's dependable, because there's leadership, because there's structure, you know, because the Leo is in charge, right? So there's this sense of humanity in feudalism. And then in capitalism, it's very robotic, like the Aquarius. You know, Aquarius is this very intelligent, very scientific sign, and it's all about doing what's right. Capitalism is very robotic. You know, it's a very robotic system. It's a very intelligent system, you know. And so I feel like Aquarius is very capitalistic, because when you think about it, capitalism is actually for the people. You know, it's for everybody, because, you know, everyone's quality of life goes up under capitalism, right? The community is served under capitalism. In capitalism, you know, the most important person is the businessman, because he creates products for the public, right? And the public is represented by Aquarius. So in capitalism, everybody is served kind of in this Aquarius way, where everybody loves everybody. But at the same time, Aquarius is very feudalistic in the sense that Aquarius is very selfless, and they sacrifice themselves for other people, which is kind of feudalistic, because or they take responsibility over people. You know how Aquarius kind of has this responsibility for the world. So they kind of assume this Leo position where they kind of become the ruler, right? Where they kind of become the center, where they become the king, and they help everybody and they lead everybody. And then you flip it, and Leo, which is kind of this feudalistic thing, Leo's, right, in capitalism, it serves Leo the best, because the Leos, or the people that are the best, you know, the people, the entrepreneurs, the people that live life to the fullest, kind of, you know, serve in capitalism the best, because they're the people who work the hardest. They're the leaders, and so they're the individuals, and capitalism values the individual. So that's kind of how this feudalism, capitalism thing kind of works together. But ultimately, as I said before, Leo represents the individual and Aquarius represents the collective. And the trick is being able to balance these, to value the individual and to value the collective, you know, to value society, but also to value the individual. And last but not least, for the Leo-Aquarius opposition, is that Leo is very much in the moment. You know, Leo lives now and then suffers the consequences later. And then Aquarius is all about the future. You know, Aquarius is a very futuristic sign. You know, when you think about it, Aquarius, as I said before, Aquarius it's ruled by Saturn. You know, so there's this sense of responsibility, and it's the masculine version of Saturn. So Aquarius has this duty and responsibility for the people, for the community. And so Aquarius has this very utopian, very futuristic vision for the world, right? They want to make the world a better place. And so they have this very futuristic kind of thinking, right? Especially because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus as well, and Uranus is a very anxiety-ridden, very anxious kind of planet, very kind of like, very like sporadic, and very sudden, and it's a higher octave of Mercury, and Mercury is all about the mind and all about thinking. And so, so basically with this opposition, it's like, do you live now or do you live for the future? Do you sacrifice now for something better in the future? And you need to learn to balance these, because if you just live in the moment and you don't think about the future, yeah, you can have a really great day today, but tomorrow you're going to be suffering and you're going to be in a lot of pain. But on the flip side, if you just save for the future and you don't stop to smell the roses and to just kind of live in the moment, you don't really live. You're constantly planning for the future. You're always kind of feeling this anxiety for the future. You never really learn to live and to just be okay with things, because what happens if that future never comes? You've been saving for a future that never happens, and so you kind of need to balance it. It's like, yeah, live in the moment now, but make sure that you spend some energy saving for later, and that's what this Leo Aquarius opposition wants. And that's why it's super, super important, because to really experience the Leo, to really live life to the fullest, you have to prepare for the future. But to make sure that you're not struck with anxiety and kind of this sense of, detachment, responsibility, you kind of just need to live and to just not give a crap and just kind of be like, life is fun. I just want to live life. And so, yeah, so that is the Leo Aquarius opposition. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for my last opposition, which is between Virgo and Pisces. Bye.